Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Septuagint, and we're reading the book of Judges, chapter 16, and we're up to verse 11. And in the previous section, Deliliah has tried to find out from Samson what the secret of his great strength is, and he's lied to her, and then she's abused him from doing that. You have deceived me, and you have spoken to me false things. Now therefore tell me by what means you might be bound, you might be tied up. And then starting at verse 11, Kai epen prasauten ea des muontes deso sime en kalodiois kainois hois uk egenita en autois ergon kai estenesa kai esamai hos haste tonan thropon. Similar sort of structure that we saw before. So he said to her, if tying me up they might bind, subjunctive here from deo, so we get a lengthening of the epsilon, they might bind me with. Now the kalodiois is a diminutive, it's kalodion, it's a diminutive of kalos, which is a perfectly good Greek, classical Greek word, not to be confused with kalos, which is beautiful. This is a word meaning a cord or rope, and it's a good classical word. It's used in Aristophanes, for example, and this is a diminutive form of that. So literally with new ropes, and then this is the relative attracted into the dative plural, so of which there has not been any work with them. So in other words, with which no work has been done. Kai so I will be weak, and I will be as one of men. Kai elabondalida kalodia kaina kai ede senauton en autois, kai tan en edra excel then ectu tamieu. Kai apen alopholoi epise Samson, kai dia sparsan auton api brachionon autu hos spartion. And Delilah took these new cords or ropes and bound him in them, or bound him with them. Now, interestingly, in this particular verse, the Greek in this section doesn't correspond very well at all with our Masoretic text, and so it may be the case that the Hebrew text that the translator's reading here is somewhat different to what we have nowadays. Anyway, we get ta enedra. Now we had the singular before. It's literally the ambushes. It's the men waiting in ambush. It's abstract neuter for concrete. The Hebrew has singular, the one hiding. We could just render it again as the ambuscade, as a way of perhaps getting around that. So the ambushes came out from the storeroom, same word we had before, and she said, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. Kaidias basen, that's the same word that we had earlier, to break in two. So here it's just break, I think. So he broke them from his brachionon, from his forearms, and so from his arms, hos spartion. This is a very rare word. It does occur in classical Greek. It's in Aristophanes, for example, but it's very rare. It means a measuring cord or string. So he broke them as you would a piece of string or measuring cord. Kai epen dalida pros Samson idu eplanesas me kai elaleses pros me pseude. And Delilah said to Samson, behold, you have caused me to wander, literally. So it's actually a causative form. I've had it before there from planao, to wander. You've caused me to wander. So you have deceived me, and you have spoken to me pseude, false things, lies. Ap angelon dei moi entini dethese kai apen prosauten ian hufanes tas hepta seres tes kephales mu sun to diasmati kai en cruces to passalo es ton oikon kai esamai hos hes ton anthropon asthenes. This is probably one of the weirdest parts of this whole story, but so we've had that bit there. And he said to her, if this is from Huphaino, if you're looking this one up, Huphaino is to weave. So if you were to weave the 7 locks of hair, of my hair, so Samson's hair was braided into 7 pigtails. So if you were to weave these 7 locks of my hair, literally with, but perhaps into or on a diasmati, again these are very rare words here, it means the loom, or rather the fabric, the diasmati, the fabric of the loom, and you might fasten it from encruo, which is literally to hammer it in, to passilo, with the pin, so perhaps with a nail. A pasilos is the word turns up in Homer. It's used of a like a nail or a wooden pin. Ace ton toikon. Toikon is another form for take on in classical Greek, but both occur into the wall. Then I will be as one of men, asthenes, weak. So I will be weak like as one of men. So if you were to weave the 7 locks of my hair into the web, so into the fabric, the web, understand the web on the loom, and encrues, fasten it, perhaps tighten it, perhaps hammer it in with the peg or with the pin into the wall, then I will be as one of men, asthenes, weak. The last section of verse 13 is not in the Masoretic text. It seems to have been supplied in the Septuagint, or perhaps there was an earlier Hebrew text in order to explain the story. Many scholars believe there's in fact a lacuna in the Masoretic text here, but the sense can be reconstructed from the Septuagint. It's not exactly clear what it means to hammer this into the wall. It's repeated twice in this, and again in verse 14, where it's not in the Hebrew. This is also in version A, the other version. So the sense seems to be that his hair is to be woven into a loom and then driven into the wall using a peg. Now, is it the hair that's got to be, or the loom that's to be driven into the wall? Many translators simply ignore this phrase and skip over it. Anyway, that's what the Greek is saying there. Kai egeneto en to koimasthaiauton kai elabon dalida tas heptaseras tes kephales autu kai hufanen en to diasmati kai epeixen to passalo es tonoikon kai epen alopholoi epi se Samson. And it came to pass, now we get n plus the infinitive here, so while he was sleeping, from koimao, that Deliliah took the 7, these are the 7 locks of his head, so we would say of his hair, so the 7 locks of his head, and she wove them into the web. Now here we get the verb paignumi, epeixen, from paignumi, which is to strike, so to hammer. Well, the word means actually normally means to break, but here it must have something like hammer. Hammered it into the wall. Hammered it with the peg into the wall, and said, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. So we get up here, we had the enkruses was the verb used here, which is to beat into, and here we get paid numi, which is just to break. So I think he's using the just different words with the same meaning here. I think it must mean to hammer it into the wall. Kai ex opniste ek tu homnu autu, kai ex erin ton pasalon tu hypophasmatos ek tu teku. So, and he was woken up from his sleep. Now, ex hyren here is just to take out. This is from iro here. So it's to lift out from iro, and this is the aorist. So he lifted out, and perhaps removed, the pasalon, the peg of the weaving. We've had huphino, to weave. Huphe is the web. This is huphasma, another word for the web. So he removed the peg of the weaving of the web from the wall. Kai apindalade pro Samson pos leges agape ka se. Kai ugestin he kadia su met emu. Tuto triton e planes as me kai uk ap angeles mu entini he iscus su he megale. And Deliliah said to Samson, how do you say, I have loved you? This is the perfect from agapao. And your heart is not met emu with me. So how can you say all this? Tuto triton eplanesas, you have caused me to wander, so you have deceived me in this matter, triton, a third time, and you have not reported to me, you have not told to me by what means is your great strength. Kai ageneter hoti ex ethlips in auton in logos autes passas tas hemeras kai estenokeros en auton kai oligopsuxemen hios tu apothenein. Okay, so it came to pass that hote, when, exethlipsen is from ecthlibo, it's to wear down, to oppress, afflict, sort of drive you mad. So it came to pass that when she drove him mad, when she afflicted him with her words, passas tes hemeras, day by day, so every day. Now this is stenochorio, which is a word meaning it's to put into a narrow place, or to press closely. It can also mean to prod. It's a bit like our expression to back into a corner. So stenos means narrow, and the chorio has that sense of space. So we might say she backed him into a corner, so she prodded him. Another interesting verb here, this is from oligopsukio. It's to be small of psuche, of soul. So it's the word generally means to lose heart, to be disheartened, to be sick to death of it. So he was sick to death of it. Well, it says heos tu apothenein. So taking all that together, so he was despondent as far as death, literally, which is just a strict translation from what's in the Hebrew. So he was sick, we would say he was, until he was sick to death of it. And he kai anangelen aute ten pasin chadian autu kai apen aute sideros ug anebe Epitan kephalein mu, hoti hagios emi, theo ego emi apokoilios metros mu, ian un xuresamai, apoktesatai ap emu he iskus mu, kaiastheneso kaiasamai hospantes hoi anthropoi. And he reported to her his whole heart. And he said to her, Sideros, an iron, that is a razor, has not gone above my head, so we'd say has not touched my head, because I am a holy one of God from the womb of my mother. Ean un, therefore, if xure is xureo, xureo is to shave. So if I am shaven, my strength, apostasatai, will depart from me, will stand back from me. And I will be weak, and I will be as all men. Kai eden dalida hoti anangelon aute passan ten kadianautu kai epistelen kai ekalisen tus akontas turn olafulon legusa anabeti epi to hapax tuto hoti angelen moi ten passan kadianautu kai anabesen prosauten hoi akontes turn olafulon kai anenkan ta agurion en kesin turn. It's quite a long verse, and Delilah saw that he had reported to her his whole heart, and she sent off and she invited or called to the rulers of the Philistines, Legusa, saying, come up, eti to hapax tuto, come up once more. It's a Hebraism, sort of as at other times. The Hebrew, well, it's literal translation again from the Hebrew. So come up as before, perhaps come up as at other times. Or it could mean come up just this once more. There's another possible rendering of it. Because he reported to me his whole heart. And the rulers of the Philistines, they went up to her, and this is from Anaphero, they brought up the silver in their hands. Kai ekoimasin dalida ton Samson epitagonata artes, and Delilah put to sleep Samson upon her knees. This is from koimizdo. You normally get koimaos to sleep. Koimizdo is to put to sleep. So Delilah put Samson to sleep upon her knees. Gonata from gonu is the nominative singular, and gonatos is the genitive. So it's a neuter word. Togonu, of course, it's cognate with our word knee. So on her knees, and she called a man, and he shaved off the 7 seras, this is this word before, the 7 locks of his head. Kai erxatot tapanose auton, and he began to humble him. It could be he, it could be she, referring to Delilah here. It's not quite clear. So perhaps she began to humble him, to bring him down. Kai apeste he iskus autu ep autu, and his strength departed ap autu from him. The Greek likes to, as does Hebrew, they like to repeat the to have apeste ap, so to depart from him is very typical Greek. kai apprehended alopholoi epise Samson, kai ex upniste ectu hupnuautu, kai apen exelusamai hos hapax, kai hapax, kai ec tinac thesamai, kai autos uk egno hotia peste hokurios ap ano thenautu. And Deliliah said, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. And he woke up, he went out of his sleep from his dream, so he woke up from his sleep or from his dream, and he said, I will go out, hos hapax kai hapax. Again, another this Hebraism, as before, as at other times. So I will go out as at other times, and ek tinac thesamai. This is a funny word here. It's from ek tinasso. Tinasso is to shake, and so here to shake off. We've got a future passive here, but it's really passive to middle, for middle. So I will shake them off. Kai autos, and he did not know that Hokurios, the Lord, had departed ap enothenautu from him. Kai ekrate san auton hoi alopholoi kai exekopsan tu sophthalmus autu. Kai kat einen kanauton es gazan kai epides anauton en pedais calcais kai an alathon en oiko to desmiateriu. Well, the Philistines got control of him, so they grabbed hold of him. Normally takes a genitive, but we get an accusative here, and this is very unpleasant. They cut out his eyes, from ek copto. Copto is to knock, so to strike out. Very ghastly word here. They struck out his eyes, and they brought him down from Kata and Pharaoh. So they brought him down into Gaza, and they tied from Epideo, they tied him up in bronze fetters, in brass fetters. This is from pede, it's a feminine noun, quite common classical word, in bronze fetters. And he was, now we get a periphrastic construction here. Aletho is to grind. It's got nothing to do, don't confuse this with alethes, meaning true. This is the verb aletho, meaning to grind. And he was grinding, understand the mill, in the house of the jailer. Oh, sorry, of the jail, the desmoterion of the jail. So that's that end of that section. Just I should have mentioned before, Hokurios here, the Hebrew has Yahweh, but here we get it with the article again. So this not particular in the Pentateuch, generally speaking, almost always you just get Kurios for Yahweh without the article. In Judges, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Anyway, that's the end of that little section from chapter 16.